open the hearing. The reason for this meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, the reason we're here today is for application 2021-049. The applicant is Lawn Care Services, Sinaloa, LLC. The request is for a conditional use permit to allow landscape business with outdoor storage in the A1 Agricultural District. The PIN number for this property is 12-35-200-025. The address is Illinois Route 176, Union, Illinois, and the property consists of approximately 6.797 acres and is located on the south side of Illinois Route 176, approximately 1,435 feet east of the intersection of McHugh Road and Illinois Route 176 in Seneca Township. I won't read the petition unless the attorney would like me to.
No, that's,
Okay.
I'm assuming everyone has seen it and had it.
Yes,
There's no
yes.
reason.
So I'd like to introduce the board, starting on my left, and the township in which you reside.
Bob Cozen, Algonquin Township.
Charlie Eldridge, Richmond Township.
I'm Linnea Kuster, Alden Township.
Vicki Gardner, Nunda Township.
Kurt Schnabel, Riley Township.
Jessica Beverly, Door Township.
And we have Tom Jers coming shortly, who's from Coral Township. The reason we do that is you can only have one person per township, so that we are spread out, so we give a representative view of people within the county for the ZBA.
What about Seneca Township? No?
Not on this board, no.
Okay.
This petition has been reviewed, and the following items have been reviewed prior to today's scheduled hearing. The publisher's certificate of publication from a newspaper is dated March 25th, 2023, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of posting was signed and date posted was March 23, 2023, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of mailing was signed and the date mailed was March 21, 2023, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice, and publication in the newspaper, and all three match. The filing fees have been paid. The endangered species consultation was not required for this petition. The McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. At this time, I would like to recognize the petitioner and the attorney here. You'll be giving testimony. Anybody else who would be giving testimony, staff, any members of the public, if you're going to want to ask questions or give a statement, now is the time I would swear you in. So if you would like to speak, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. For members of the public, how the proceedings works is the petitioner will give their testimony, then they will be asked questions from members of the board, and then also staff will be given the opportunity to ask questions. And then if you would like to ask questions of their testimony, you can do so. That would not be the time for your opinion or any statement by you. It would be only a question from what they have said. And then after that, then we will take testimony from the members of the public, starting with the staff. They will give us their staff report. And then at the end of that time, if you want to give a statement, state your opinion on the petition, you will give them the opportunity to do that. So at this time, I will recognize the petitioner and their attorney. If you would just, if you're going to speak, I would like you to state your name, your position, and your address.
Do you want me to wait?
It is 1:34.
So you can certainly go ahead and start your testimony. If he does not show at the time that we close the hearing and go into the voting meeting, you have the right to request all 7 members, at which point we would probably reschedule you and Mr. Jers would be afforded an opportunity.
Mr. Jers or Mr. Smolinski?
Smolinski would be afforded the opportunity to read the transcript, and you'd have all 7 members present for a vote at that point.
Is he here? Is he?
I don't know where he's
Okay.
at.
All right. I didn't
He's an
know-
alternate, he's not our regular member.
Yeah,
He's an
okay.
alternate, but, so,
So we can just proceed, I guess, at this point. So you all have the petition, and Anna and her staff did a great job taking pictures and providing the information that you need. So the parcel is owned by Lawn Care Services Sinaloa, LLC, who I'll be referring to as LCSS.
and please identify yourself.
Oh, sorry. Olivia Dierig, D-I-R-I-G. I am an attorney at Frank Skirkin, Ponitz and Greeley, and the address of the law firm is 19333 East Grant Highway in Marengo, and that's P.O. Box 5.
Thank you.
It is owned and operated as a family business by Nicole and Jorge Gastelum. The business has been continually operating for 18 years out of a currently rented location in Union, Illinois. LCSS provides landscaping, landscape design, snow plowing, and trucking services to a variety of clients in northern Illinois. We are seeking a conditional use permit today for outdoor storage bins, primarily for the storage of mulch, and that would include black, red, premium, and playground grade mulch, gravel, and seasonally salt. Initially, there would be approximately 10 bins. The application had requested that they be 10 feet in height. It's my understanding that the staffing report recommends 6. Ideally, we'd like 8 as a compromise. However, we are willing to accept 6 feet in height in order to get the conditional use permit. And those bins would be 15 feet wide, and there was nothing in the staffing recommendation regarding the width. One of the 10 bins would have a covered arch. The bins would be constructed from high-grade cinder blocks. The salt bin is on the site plan. I know the salt bin is a concern. The salt bin is located in the far southwestern corner of the lot. That is the salt bin.
That's the shed? Oh,
The shed, and then
there's
the salt bin is right there, and that's the southwestern, that's the far southwestern corner of the lot. It is, by the engineer's report and by the narrative, approximately 207, 208 feet from the proposed well site. On this site plan, the well location isn't exactly the same, but we would be going off of the engineering report, which recommends the well placement at about, when I measured out, about 207, 208 feet. All outdoor bins would be located exclusively in the back 1/3 of the property. So this is approximately a 7-acre parcel, and we're only looking to put the bins in the back third, which is as far away from the road as possible. The rear portion of the property will have a fully enclosed fence, and that's what's on the, you can see that on the site plan, that's the X's around it. There will be a gate by which vehicles can enter, but everything would be fenced in. LCSS does not have any employees who would work full-time at the property. The property is meant to be used as a storage and staging area. Essentially, employees would come in the morning in their own vehicles, and you can see that's why we have employee parking. Pick up a company vehicle and any necessary supplies, and then go out to various job sites. There is only one full-time office employee at LCSS, and that is Mrs. Gastelum, and she works at a completely different site. So there would be no on-site employees, and it would just be used as a staging and storage area. From time to time, LCSS may also park the trucks that it owns outside. LCSS owns 2 22-ton semi-trailers, each approximately 42 feet in length. There will be no exterior signage or exterior lighting on the property at this time. We may apply for a permit for it at some point or a conditional use at some point, but right now, this is all we're looking to do. LCSS has plans to eventually build a storage shed, and we did put that on the site plan, but requires the addition of the outdoor storage to maximize the space in order to grow its business. They've been renting for almost the last 20 years. They purchased this parcel in 2021 in the hopes of turning it into something that they own. The business is consistent, it's been operating consistently, never had any problems, no business complaints, no employee complaints, no issues with the county in the past. And as I said, this isn't we're not looking to start a retail business here, nor are we looking to even have a single office employee on here. We're really just looking for it as outdoor storage. The property is zoned A1, which already allows for landscaping with indoor storage. We're just looking for outdoor storage. And then the only other thing that I wanted to mention, if you could widen the site plan, or so that we can see the whole thing.
Maybe.
We are aware of the wetlands and the stormwater detention. We did, or the Gastelums did, I did not personally, commission a report because of the wetlands and the stormwater detention issues that was part of the packet that you should have received. The only change I want to mention here, and it's not even really a big change, is that the site plan shows the driveways being perfectly straight. Obviously, for engineering purposes, it is going to curve a little bit. I didn't want there to be any confusion about that. It will curve around the wetland area as necessary. We are not married to this idea of just a straight line. We are aware that they do need to apply for the permit for that, and once the conditional use has been approved, they'll undertake the steps to do that. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that the shed would be more of like a prefab shed. It's, the intent, like I said, is not to have employees working out of it or even turn it into a retail business. It would be more of an issue of that Mr. Gastelum periodically does work on the vehicles, the company vehicles, and that shed would be used primarily for that purpose, as opposed to housing anybody in there or having anybody work out of there or anything like that. Mrs. Gastelum works from home as the office manager for LCSS, and there are no plans to change that. And then that's it. We can open it up to questions.
Okay, we'll start down on my right.
Okay.
Ms. Beverly.
In looking at this picture and in looking at the plat review that's also included in the packet, it looks like there's gonna be some detention ponds. Are you building those? Or are they there already?
They're not there now, so we would be building them.
Okay.
You have to identify yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Nicole Gastelum, owner of Lawn Care Service.
And your
And
address?
please give your address.
10614 North Church Street, Huntley, Illinois.
Would your husband be
60142.
giving any testimony? He didn't swear in.
I'm Jorge, and I live with her.
Thanks.
You know, just in case you want to answer any questions, can I just swear you in, Jorge?
Yes.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead then. So go ahead with.
Oh, yeah, so you're putting in the detention basins that are noted here?
Yes.
Okay. And the construction of the driveway was also provided, and that factors into wetland issues?
Yes, it was part of the engineer's report. The site plan, Mrs. Gastelum drew herself. The engineer's report has a more precise, which is why I wanted to mention that it was going to move a little bit. And obviously, if they start to build the stormwater detention ponds and they feel like they need to be moved or something like that, we would certainly rely on the engineer for that and not necessarily, we're relying on the engineer for the stormwater detention. They're the ones with the environmental degrees.
Right, and we have the stormwater ordinances that have to be followed as well for that. And the salt bin in the corner, I noted in the testimony from the hearing and we have our own zoning ordinance on the salt shed, and that's all been incorporated into your design as well?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't think I have any other questions then.
I have just a couple for right now. First is whereabouts in Union are you actually operating right now? And it's on rented property, correct?
It's off of Jefferson Street,
Unincorporated area?
like right by the township. Do you know where the township is in Union?
Yeah.
It's right behind there.
Right
There's
behind.
like a bunch of different,
So you're not stuck out in some remote
No.
field somewhere?
no,
You have a sign identifying the business at that location right now?
no, we do not.
Do you plan to have a sign at your new location?
Not at this time, no.
And when, if you have the new location, you will totally abandon the old site or keep that?
We're renting it, so we would abandon it, and we want to make this our own because we are growing and have been in business for a long time, many years. So we just want to keep growing. So yes, we would abandon that, and once we make this our own and are able to, you know, move, we would move.
Please feel free.
Okay. I just want to understand how you exactly want to use this property.
Okay.
So you don't plan on storing equipment there, just a couple trucks every now and then, is what you said?
We would be storing the equipment in the shed.
Inside?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just we want the outdoor storage for some vehicles, the semis especially, because the semis are not gonna fit in the shed.
Right.
So we would be using it more for like the parking for that, but our equipment would be stored inside. Our tools would be stored inside the shed, that wouldn't be outside.
Okay.
But we would need definitely outside storage for the mulch, because you don't want that inside with the
Right.
heat and all that.
Yeah,
so.
okay. So, given the fact that you can only go 6 feet on the bins, do you have enough bins, or do you think you'll need more bins?
I think we would have enough, like Olivia said in the opening statement. Originally, we were planning on 10 feet high. We were hoping for 8 feet if we can, but
Yeah.
it's not like if we can't get 8, we would still be okay. We would make them 6 feet, but I think we would be okay
Okay.
with the amount of bins that we have there.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure you don't want to change this now.
No, that's fine.
Okay. And the way this works is your employees would actually come to this property and fill up their own trucks with whatever material you
They
have
would
there?
park there at the location,
Uh-huh.
and they would pick up our trucks, because we own a bunch of trucks. We own 7 smaller trucks right now. So they would pick up our company trucks.
And they would be in this?
Yeah, they
in the
would be
shed?
loading that, and then,
Yeah.
then they would park there for the day, be in our trucks, go into different properties, and then go back at the end of the day, switch trucks. So drop our truck off, pick their truck up, and then go home for the day.
Or pick their personal vehicle up.
Yeah,
Right,
whatever it is.
Yeah, so it's kind of in and out
It's
and
like
then
a
in and out?
loading, yeah, type, yeah, definitely in and out, yeah.
Okay, and what hours do they work?
7 to 5 usually. Sometimes it's our busy season now, so sometimes we're, till 7 o'clock at night, but
Yeah.
typically 7 to 5 is on average, but
Yeah. Okay,
that is, until fall, because then in the winter we do plow. So in the winter, it would just be whenever it snows, so it wouldn't be a lot of in and out in the winter.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Eldridge?
You're planning on building the shed immediately?
That's our hope, yeah, as long as we can get the permits and,
Okay, and so you won't be storing any equipment other than the trucks and trailers outside until you have the shed built on this site, is that correct? So you won't be storing any equipment outside in this, on this property?
But we would be storing, the conditional uses for the storage of the outdoor mulch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But are you, when you're referring to equipment, do you mean like tools and things like that?
Well, lawnmowers.
that we would keep locked up until,
Yeah.
yeah, that would not go to this property until the shed is built.
Okay.
And we usually keep our, tractors and lawnmowers and stuff within the trailers, and those are locked as well, so they
And-
would be secure, and not like, all over the property, if that's,
You were planning an 8-foot-high chain link fence. Are you doing anything to make it somewhat opaque for putting strips in or anything of that sort, or just an open 8-foot chain link fence?
for right now, we were just planning on open, chain link fence.
What are your business hours, and do you operate on the weekends?
Currently, we operate Monday through Saturday. Sundays, only if it's snowing outside and we plow, then we'll, go in and out. Usually, like I just said, between 7 and 5, but it's our busy season right now, so sometimes we're out until 7 p.m.
How many trucks do you have presently?
We have 2 semis and we have 7 commercial trucks. Some are dump trucks.
When you say 2 semis, is that 2 tractors and 2 trailers?
Yes.
And how many employees do you have presently?
Currently 12. Yeah, we just hired some, so I'm sorry, 12 currently.
It's the busy season.
Yeah.
What is your peak, and then how low do you get down to in the winter?
In the winter, we have 5, right?
6.
6. In the winter, we go to 6. But yeah, 12 is the
Oh.
highest we've ever had so far. But they don't all drive separately. They do carpool, so it wouldn't be 12 cars on the lot either. So
Okay. And the salt storage, what are you doing for containment of salt spills?
we've never had a salt spill before, but we do, like currently where we rent, we have, it's on asphalt, right?
Asphalt.
We have asphalt underneath all the salt, and then the bin is high enough, and then we have the covered arch.
And you'd be doing something similar here?
Yes, definitely.
Which is what the ordinance requires.
Yes. Okay, you'd be meeting the salt storage ordinance.
Yes, absolutely.
And in constructing the shed, you'd be meeting the requirement for a commercial building, is that correct?
Whatever the permitting requires, like I said, it is a prefab shed, so it's not like there would be a digging of a basement or a foundation or anything like that.
Well, if you're going to be doing or seeking to do repair or maintenance of vehicles, you have to have appropriate drainage and an appropriate floor on the shed.
Yes,
And
Yes.
you understand that and would meet those standards.
of course. As I said, we haven't applied for the permit on the shed yet because this is step one. So we haven't, I mean, they've looked at sheds that they're interested in, but this is not something that's been purchased or contracted for.
Yeah. And the driveway, you've noted that it probably isn't going to be exactly straight, but is that going to be a gravel driveway? Or is it going to be paved?
At first, it'll probably be gravel just due to cost effectiveness, but eventually we would love it to be paved. But at first, we're thinking gravel.
Okay.
Though if the engineer requires asphalt for stormwater purposes, that is certainly what we would do.
Yes,
Yeah,
well,
you did put gravel.
there may be
Yeah.
a requirement for at least an apron off the highway.
Yes.
Paved.
Yeah, we would do pave for definitely the apron.
Yeah, I'm not sure that this is part of it, but there is an engineer's report that shows what the driveway would look like exactly. And that does, he did at this time indicate that gravel would be acceptable. So that's why we're going with gravel initially.
And at this point, you are not proposing a sign of any kind on the property?
Correct.
That's all I have at this moment.
Okay, Mr. Cozen.
Thank you. I like doing cleanup, it seems, at all my other. The issue, and I'm just wondering the thought process behind locating the salt bin in that particular location. Is that, what was the thought process on that?
Yes, it's the recommendation of the engineer, and the idea is to keep it as far away from the well as possible, because obviously, we also have to comply with the ordinance. And the engineer also, if you look at, there's a full, I think it's got to be 25 or 30 pages, the engineering report. It's also to keep the salt away from neighboring wells. So that's why it's located there, sort of like if you draw radial lines from all of the places that, how far you need to be, it just conveniently ends up in the corner over there.
The issue on exterior lighting, given that there will be a winter operation, is there consideration for lighting, given how sun?
I mean, we can if you guys
No,
want
it's
us
not.
to. But we have not,
Had that.
not at this time. But as far as the winter, again, the employees would be going there, picking up the plows, and then leaving to go plow, and then, coming back whenever they're done plowing.
I don't want to speak because I haven't been there in a while, but I don't believe their current location has exterior lighting either. No.
So you haven't had it necessary to fulfill that requirement for the past 17 years?
Correct.
And I'm just curious, given the topography of the site coming off of State Route 176, is there some type of recorded drainage easement with the state on how the state water comes right off of the roadway?
There was not one that showed on the title or that the engineer was able to find. That's part of the reason this engineer's report is as involved as it is. Because normally, yes, you would expect one, and there is currently not one. That's part of what I think has had this project take as long as it has, is that stormwater drainage issue. I'm not sure how long that engineer's report, it took months.
Yeah, it took the engineer a long time. I was bugging him, I'm like, are you done yet?
But no, there is no record, when you pull the title, there is no recorded easement. Not only did I check when I pulled the initial title, but the engineer also checked with the state. So that's why when I say the site plan, while it's as close to what we think it will be, if the engineer gets out there and talks to IDOT and talks to the state and says, we need to move the stormwater detention up 100 feet, that's what we're doing. Because right now, there is no plan. There is no plan set in stone for where we would need to do that.
Or the attributable size if it does not have a definable acceptance rate.
Exactly. Yeah, that is 100%, I would say here, of the delay on this project has been the complication associated with that stormwater drainage.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Before I have you ask more questions, Charlie has a few more questions. Would you please go through with your client, are there certain standards that need to be met for a conditional use? They would be in your packet on page 27 and 28. One is for the use and one is for conditional uses in general. The approval standards that are in our ordinance.
Oh, sorry. My pages are just not numbered the ways that yours are, that's why
I'm
That's
sorry.
where the confusion is. I don't want to.
Yeah, of the staff report, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, pages 5 and 6 of the
Yes,
staff
okay,
report.
perfect, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that page right there.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so these are, she and I have been through these multiple times, but the approved standards for conditional use permit is that no permit may be granted unless the zoning board of appeals makes specific written findings, that's why we're here today, and that the request meets each of the standards imposed by this section, and those are as follows. Number one, that the petitioner has demonstrated the ability to meet any applicable standards contained in the use standards and site development standards. That the site is so situated and that the proposed use is compatible with the existing or future planned development of the area. That the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the conditional use shall not be detrimental to or endanger the public health,
Could
safety.
you address each of those as you go through as to, why it
Get
would be
testimony.
compatible?
Oh,
And we need
from your-
testimony
Yeah.
Okay,
for that, not just the reading of them,
yeah, okay, perfect.
including the applicable standards in 16.56.
Okay, so can you please describe how the conditional use meets the applicable standards of section 16.56, which governs landscaping businesses? Just discuss the site plan, talk
That would be
about
on the next page, so maybe you want to go through those first, and then you can go back to the general, because
Okay.
The specific standards for landscape business are in the following page. So maybe we should deal with those first.
Okay. All right, so we'll start there. Will the storage be restricted to those areas so designated on the site plan?
Yes.
Um,
And you need to speak up because we're recording and they can't hear.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because someone's going to have to listen to this.
Yes, and make sure that you don't just nod your head.
If the recording doesn't catch the head nods very well.
Will all business vehicles and equipment be stored entirely within the enclosed structure or in a permitted exterior storage area?
Yes.
Will the preparation, assembly, and processing of materials occur wholly indoors or within the permitted exterior storage area only?
Yes.
Will the storage be limited to vehicles, equipment, and materials owned or leased by you or a tenant?
Yes.
Will all vehicles stored on site have current plate registration?
Yes.
Okay. Will all structures utilized by your business meet all applicable building code for the occupancy category?
Yes.
Will all vehicle oil changes and maintenance occur only inside of an enclosed structure meeting all applicable building and plumbing codes?
Yes.
Do you understand that retail sales are prohibited?
Yes.
Will the collection and storage of landscape waste at the facility be limited to two tree branches 2 inches or greater in diameter, free of leaves, or to be used as raw materials to produce a legitimate product, i.e. firewood, mulch, wood chips, so long as it is processed in a reasonable amount of time as determined by the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency Bureau of Land Permit section?
Yes.
Do you understand that you cannot store asphalt paving equipment or supplies?
Yes.
Do you understand that the storing of the ice or any other de-icing agents must comply with the county ordinance code?
Yes.
Do you understand that the employee parking needs to be provided in accordance with Chapter 16.64 of the county code?
Yes.
Do you understand that employee bathrooms, should they become necessary, must be provided in accordance with McHenry County Public Health Ordinance and Illinois State Plumbing Code?
Yes.
Do you understand that all storage areas, parking areas, and buildings must comply with required setbacks for the zoning district?
Yes.
Okay, so now we'll go back to the other standards, the general
Yep.
standards.
Is your conditional use permit compatible with the existing or planned future development of the area? What do you plan to do with in the future?
Like we said before, you mean like with this plan?
Mm-hmm.
Like we said before, we are just looking to grow our business, so we're looking for the outdoor storage to store asphalt, or not asphalt, I'm sorry. I was reading asphalt. I'm not gonna look at that. To store mulch, gravel, and then the salt bin as well, and then to have outdoor parking as well.
And the salt storage is seasonal, correct? You don't need the salt stored in August?
Correct.
Do you believe that the conditional use permit is detrimental or will endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the area?
No.
Do you understand that there are residential properties on either side?
Yes.
Is it your intention to work to be as good a neighbor as possible?
Yes.
Do you believe that the conditional use that you're applying for today will be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other property in the area?
Yes.
And it is correct, is it not, that the engineering report, when looking for a place to put the salt, did look at the location of the wells on the adjoining properties?
Yes.
Do you believe that the conditional use permit, if granted, will diminish or impair property value in the area?
No.
What is the current use of the property?
It's vacant. There's nothing there.
Is it your understanding that there are adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities provided?
Yes.
There's electrical hookup.
Yes.
Has your conditional use application been designed to provide ingress and egress to minimize traffic congestion
Yes,
and hazard on the public street?
yes,
So it's been your testimony that the only time that vehicles are going in and out of this property are in the morning
yes,
and in the afternoon,
yes,
and not on Sundays?
correct, yes,
And for the most part, except during the busy season, only during regular business hours?
yes,
Do you believe that the conditional use conforms to the applicable standards of the underlying zoning district, which is A1 agricultural?
yes,
I have nothing further.
Do you believe that the conditional use is reasonably in the interest of the public welfare?
yes.
Now, tell me, where is your business? Where are your customers? Are they within McHenry County? And tell me about the demand for your type of business.
The majority of our customers are in McHenry County, but we also have some in Kane County, because we do Elgin as well. So we service Huntley, Union, Lake in the Hills, Algonquin, Elgin, Carpentersville, Barrington, Marengo, other cities as well. I'm sure I'm missing, so I apologize. But we do offer a wide range. And then, who doesn't want their landscape to, look nice and beautiful? So we don't just do mowing, we do mulching, and we, do gravel, we trim trees, we plant trees. So it also helps the economy as well.
And have adequate measures been taken to provide protection to groundwater recharge and groundwater quality?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I had a few questions based on the staff plat review. I see your engineering document there, but I'm not sure if they saw this before you had staff plat review, but I saw Mr. Lovato from the Department of Health wanted to make sure that there might be septic requirements if it's determined that restrooms are required, and you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. And that your salt storage shed is larger than was described in the narrative, and if the quantity is over 50,000 pounds, that's considered a secondary source of contamination, and it has to be 200 feet to the water well, and you're over 200 feet.
Which is why we corrected that, yes.
Okay. And the salt storage be on impervious surface, so chloride doesn't go into the ground, and that's why you're going to have impervious surface.
Yes.
Now, when I was out there today, I saw you have recycled asphalt a little bit and the entrance to your property. Is that kind of what you're thinking, like for your driveway versus gravel, that you'd have like recycled asphalt there, or?
We'll do whatever that is.
I think we were just doing that to begin with because I know you guys were gonna be going to the property, some other people were gonna be looking at the property as well, and we didn't want,
You don't want to be
it
getting
was
stuck,
grass, you don't wanna
right?
get stuck, or things like that, or sink in.
I was very
and-
careful when I took it
Yeah.
out.
And we knew
That's where Mr. Smolinski is.
Yeah, we knew the engineer needed to go out there multiple times, and, multiple people needed to go there just to check things out, so that's why we did that temporarily. If you guys, if that's okay and the permit allows us to do that, we might do that. We're trying to see what's more cost effective. If, you want the gravel, that's fine too, we're very flexible in that.
This was just done as a short-term solution because we knew that there would be people.
That's what it kind of looked like.
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't want anyone to get stuck. The engineer had to get in and out of there.
Yeah. Okay, you had some more questions?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Want to go to, these are all related to snow plowing and de-icing. Do you use the same trucks that you use in the summertime for your plowing and de-icing?
Yes, we do.
How many trucks is the most you would use in plowing?
6.
Yeah, 6.
And how many plows do you have?
6.
No, 9. But I got 2 spares.
Oh, you mean that we use, it would be 6 plows, and the plows we just connect to the trucks, and
Yeah.
then in the spring we take them off. But we
And-
have extra plows as well.
And how many salt spreaders do you have to go on the back of the trucks?
4? Yeah, 4.
Four?
Mhm.
And in the wintertime, when you were doing this, where do you store the trucks just on gravel outside?
Right now, yes.
Currently, yes.
We are outside.
And in the summertime, where do you store the plows and the salt spreaders?
Outside.
We take them off and they're outside as well.
Okay.
We don't like it, but they're outside.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like propped up, but they're outside.
Okay. Let me say that I have some concern about salt contamination from the plows and the salt spreaders.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Any other questions by board members? Okay, any questions on staff?
I do have a couple today. Okay, so you have your bins that you're gonna have your product in. How is that product being brought to the site? Is it in the smaller trucks? Is it in the semis? What size?
We have 2 semis, so he actually drives a semi and then he brings it to the site himself.
Okay, okay. So you've addressed the turnaround radius and that kind of stuff? Okay. And then roughly how often do you need to use the semis to bring product onto the site?
It depends, because we also use the semis for trucking as well.
Okay.
But as far as bringing the product to the site, it's our busy time of year, so we use a lot of mulch. So sometimes twice a day, we would do that, and then there might be some days where we don't use a semi to pick up mulch at all because they're out doing other things. So we try and maximize our time that way.
Okay, okay. And then you're a full-service landscaping business from what you've said.
Correct.
Yard waste that you accumulate on the job, what happens to that?
We put it into the semis and then we go dump it. We pay fees to go get it dumped.
Okay, so it's not brought back to the site?
Correct.
I guess
Okay.
when we get to the side, we dump the little
I'm
dumpster.
sorry,
They get loaded.
for whoever's going to be listening, I want them to know who is actually speaking. So if it's not, if you want to answer the question, and otherwise we need to identify one versus the other. But go ahead and answer the question. Just state your name so that we know who's talking.
I'm Jorge. What we do, we go to the sites, we do cleanups, we load the little dumps, then we show to the shop, then we dump there, we make a little pile. When I have enough for one semi-load, I load out the semi-load and haul it away. It's like we cannot make it work for us to have enough waste we can take it away.
Okay, so you will have, for some period of time, the yard waste that are brought to this site gathered and then taken to some
Yes.
storage place, okay. And then you're aware that those have to be the smaller branches and things like that, okay. Where were you anticipating that you were gonna store that product until it's ready to take off?
We just use one of the bins,
Okay,
and when the bin is getting full, okay, and we have enough for the semi-truck trailer to be loaded completely, then we haul it. Because we don't like either to have a lot of garbage in our site.
okay, okay. Okay, those were the questions I had.
Okay. Any members of the public have a question? Yes, sir. You need to state your name, your address, and then you may ask a question.
Yeah, name is Dennis Schultz, address is 15419 Route 176. I live on the east side of this property. And I'd like to, let's take a look at the
So
property here.
this is, you're going to ask a question, correct?
This is only for
This
questions.
is only for
right?
questions. It's not about a statement. So you can
Oh,
ask
I'm
him
sorry.
questions. Yeah, okay.
My question then, where are you gonna store all the trucks? I mean, I've heard before that trucks ain't gonna be stored there, and all of a sudden they're gonna be stored there. So it's a vice versa. So that's what I'm asking. First they say they're not gonna store the trucks, it'd be still in Union, but now they say they're gonna store the trucks.
Okay, well,
That's my
let him
question.
answer the question. Okay.
We would be storing the trucks in those outside truck trailer parking spaces that are right there. That's where we would be storing them.
And that's been on our site plan since our initial application. There's never been a narrative or an application that said that the trucks would be stored in Union. This has been on the
It's just
site.
that they're currently stored in Union because that's where
Because
your
that's where
business
they
is
are
currently
currently
located.
operating. This
Right.
is a currently operating business that is renting space in Union, and that's where the trucks are now. And that's where they would stay until this property was ready to be used. So it's always been our plan to park those trucks there.
Okay. Do you have another question, sir?
No, I'm just waiting for comments.
Okay. Okay, does anyone else have questions?
My
Yeah,
question is
you need to
that
You
get
gotta
up and
state
state
your
your
name
name
and
and address as
Heather
well.
Schultz, 15419 Route 176 on the east side of this property also. My concern is.
No, your question.
My question
Question.
is that, is there anybody that's gonna be on the site in case, like, let's say, a fire erupts? Or anything there's an emergency on the site?
There will be no one on site at all times. Like we said, it'll be in and out. Every business you go to does not have somebody on site all the time in case a fire happens. Emergencies happen all the time, unfortunately. And we cannot have somebody on site at all times. It's just 24/7. Otherwise, we would have to build a house and somebody would have to live there.
Any other questions?
I got one more, please. Dennis Schultz. Let's say this goes through zoning. What's to say,
You're asking, you can ask them
I'm
a
gonna ask,
question right now.
what's to say if this does go through zoning and you change your plan and it's zoned business, what's to say that somebody can't just put a 7-Eleven store in there?
I can answer that question.
ahead.
This property is zoned agricultural.
Yes, it is.
And so retail is not allowed on an agricultural business. That's part of the reason that the staff report says that there can be no retail. However, there are lots of businesses that are allowed on properties that are zoned agricultural, as this one is, and landscaping businesses are one of them. In addition to that is dog kennels and horse boarding, and there are lots and lots and lots of businesses that can operate on a property that's zoned A1. And so our application is not for retail. It is not to change the character of the property from agricultural to business commercial. It is simply to be allowed to have these outside storage bins.
And I will tell you, sir, that that is the petition to allow for a landscape business. Okay, we will then take testimony, starting with the staff, and you have, I think, something to read from the
I
fire
do.
department.
Okay, so let's start with that. We did receive correspondence from the Union Fire Protection District. This is a letter that was dated on April 2nd of 2023, addressed to the zoning board here. We have received a legal notice of public hearing number 2021-049, requesting a conditional use permit to allow for a landscape business and outside storage on the property located on the south side of Illinois Route 176, approximately 1,435 feet east of McHugh Road in Seneca Township, Illinois. Then it gives the PIN number. Please see attached letter of April 2nd, 2022 to Kim Charlo. Reference this project. Our comments are the same as we had then. We will treat this project as commercial and provide comments as it moves through the permitting process. If you have any questions, please contact me and provide some contact information. Yours in safety, John R. Burns, Fire Marshal. The letter that he is referencing, April 2nd of 2022 to Kim Charlo. The Union Fire Protection District has reviewed the submitted information for the staff review on the project as listed above. We have no issues with the proposed plans for the above listed property. Since there is no residence on the property currently or planned, we feel that the project should be reviewed as commercial use. We will provide further comments as the project moves through the permitting process. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, please contact, and that information is provided. This is also signed by John R. Burns, Fire Marshal. So those are the correspondence that we have received. real quick. See if I can get my slides here too. Okay, so the subject property is completely surrounded by A1 zoning. As you can see from this slide here, there are a number of lots that have been created, or I should say parcels, not lots, that have been created over the years that have predominantly been used for residential purposes. The future, or the surrounding land uses, as I said, is predominantly residential on the south side. On the north side, there is agricultural fields. There's agricultural up and down the road there in various places. The future land use for this area is for agricultural, so the residential that's occurred can be an offshoot of the agricultural uses. It kind of limits the agriculture that actually occurs from this specific area here. It is a fairly rural area. It is a busy road. You'd have to be careful getting in and out certain times of the day. But no more so than any other landscape business that is currently occurring on this road. It is in conformance with our comprehensive plan and our future land use map. We do have a number of conditions listed if you are inclined to recommend approval of this project.
Okay, any members of the board have questions for staff, starting down with Mr. Cozen? Any questions?
When you said busy, do you have a range of, I'm not familiar with that.
I don't have actual documentation.
Right.
My personal route to and from the office takes me along this road. So there could be long stretches of trucks and cars going from the eastern part of the county to the western part. It's a fairly busy road getting to and from.
I understand you're so busy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Eldridge?
I have no questions.
Anybody else down this one? No questions. Any members of the public have questions? Or no, public isn't allowed to ask questions of staff, only the board. But now at this point, the public is allowed to make your statement. If you'd like to, again, stand up, identify yourself, give your address, and then if you'd like to make a statement regarding the petition, you are allowed to do so.
Dennis Schultz, 15419 Route 176. I did have a question because I forgot. Are they potentially going to build a house there?
There's nothing in a petition for the
Okay.
land house.
If we can go back to the back lot and go all the way to the back lot. Okay, if you look at the back lot on this side, on the south side, all the water comes off the neighboring property and goes through there. That's why all the front, that's why, and where his bends are and stuff on the right side, that's where it was perked for a house to be built for septic. So now they take that away, so there's no way he could ever build a house there if you're gonna do that. But now you gotta understand, all the water is gonna still keep going through there. My other concern is my well is only 45 feet deep. So that salt, which I know will contaminate it, and I know there will be runoff, because I've been in the business. So I'm concerned with that. But at the same time, he bought this property knowing that it was ag, and he got it for a pretty good price. And then I never, by him changing the zoning, I don't know where he come from.
We're not changing the zoning.
No, not the zoning, but he's gonna go for a business. Whereas if you start putting up an 8-foot fence all the way around, it's gonna take my property value down. Plus, he's gonna have all these trucks in. I don't see where they can even turn around in that little area, but I'm sure they'll make it out. By storing stuff back there, mulch brings rats. I got enough rats in my barn. Cats take care of them. And she says the machines pull out at 7. I don't believe it, because I see them at the gas stations filling up at 6 a.m. in the morning. Not his machines, but all the other, like Eddie's and stuff like that. I know they're on the job sites at 7, so they gotta be gassing up someplace. And I know they're gonna come in late. He's on, where I live, that's where they're passing 70, 75 miles an hour. And to tell you the truth, I've had, on G Road, she got rear-ended before. My son got rear-ended in my driveway from my postman, because he's watching put the oil pipeline in and put him in the back seat, same as her. So the traffic really flows. And I'm just concerned, these guys are gonna be coming in at all times, and they're gonna be making all kinds of noise, and plus being all that around there, it's gonna bring my property value down. And I'm ready to sell my property, just as it is, because I just lost my wife, so I gotta sell. But I know that salt will, like I say, my well is 40, 45 feet deep. And with all that water running through there, it's gonna bring it right around to the front. It's gonna contaminate the aquifer that my well's in. I've said enough. Thank you very much.
So anyone else want to make a statement? Yes, please, again, your name and address.
Heather Schultz, 15419, Route 176. Yeah. My concern is that right where their outside storage bins and where their trucks and everything will be parked, on the other side of their fence is my horses and my animals. And on the other side of the other fence is another, the neighbors on that side have all Dalmatian dogs and animals. And any kind of chemicals that landscape companies bring is a concern to me for my animals. The other concern that I have, that I can witness to, is that 176 is a very dangerous road. I was rear-ended, pulling out, making a left-hand turn into my driveway, where a kid just hit me going 65 miles an hour. 2 years before that, it happened to my brother. This road, people, is a dry, straight road. People don't pay attention, and when the sun comes in, you can't see a trailer stopped, making a left-hand turn. It will cause an accident. And it is next to, further down is Franklinville Road, which has been many deadly accidents right there. And that's my two concerns.
Does the petitioner have a closing statement?
I don't have a prepared closing statement, but I did want to address a couple of issues. I also drive 176 into work every day. I live in Crystal Lake. I work in Marengo. IDOT has worked very hard to make that road as safe as possible, and literally in the last year, they have added turn lanes onto Franklinville Road. They have added turn lanes onto, I think it's Dunham Road. They are trying to make that road safer and slow people down. There's no question about that. Additionally, there's a lot of traffic in and out. Like, there's a lot of, as you drive down 176, yes, you're gonna stop because somebody's making a left. There are houses off of that road, people turning into their driveways. There are also enormous businesses off of that road, including very large landscaping companies. There's one when you first turn onto 176, they've got outdoor storage that's gotta be 10 or 20 feet in height. And not too far from here is the tree farm. They've got trucks turning in and out of there all the time. I mean, the road is as safe as it can be, and those of us who drive it on a regular basis are aware that there are semis and trucks stopping in front of us. Additionally, that is more of an issue for IDOT. If IDOT has a concern about the size of these, they would have raised it at this point. They haven't. So that's the first thing that I wanted to say in regards to the traffic, which I someone who drives it every single day, twice a day, I understand the concern. But at the same time, I think that there has been a real effort by the state to make that road as safe as it possibly can be at this point. The other thing that I wanted to address, and Jorge, if you could do me a favor, if you could answer a couple of questions for me, I just want to clarify for the board. In terms of the salt storage, those plows that you have, if you were to build the shed, would you be storing the plows in the shed?
Yes, I will.
Okay. And
Same
there-
thing with the salt spreaders, because I don't like it right now to be exposed to the sun. 3 years later, they get toasty and we need to replace it. And that thing's that cost $16,000. If I'm only using it 3 months in the winter, I would like to just clean them up and store it. Get it out, and it will last me 10 years versus 3 or 4 years.
And part of the issue with the rental property that you have now is that right now, those pieces of equipment are being stored outside, correct?
It's being stored out because we don't have the space.
That's where they are in Union. It is part of the appeal to this property, to the Gastelums, and I don't mean to put words in their mouth, is that they can put a shed and get these things off of the regular ground where they are in Union right now. Additionally, Nicole, if you could confirm for me that when the engineer goes to put in the stormwater drainage and recommends that you move the salt bin, would you do so on the engineer's recommendation?
Yes, and he's been out to the property multiple times looking at the stormwater, and he moved the stormwater detention, and, you know, he had a specialist go in, so he's done his work as the engineer to make sure that we do not contaminate anything and we are safe. But if he does recommend changing it again, we will comply.
I have nothing further.
Okay, now we have 6 people here today. If you would like, we could go ahead and vote today, but you would only have 6 people voting, and you need 5 yes votes for a positive recommendation to the county board. So I'll leave it up to you. If you want us to go ahead and vote today, we can do so. Otherwise, if you would like 7 people to be able to vote, we will continue this to another date. So do you want to discuss
now?
that?
We'll do it now.
Okay. So at this point, I will close the hearing portion of the meeting, and I will open the voting portion of the meeting. Again, this is a voting meeting for application number 2021-049. The applicant is Lawn Care Services Sinaloa LLC. The request is for a conditional use permit to allow a landscape business with outdoor storage in the A1 Agricultural District. PIN number 12-35-200-025, located on Illinois Route 176, Union, Illinois, consisting of 6.797 acres, and located on the south side of Illinois Route 176, approximately 1,435 feet east of the intersection of McHugh Road and Illinois Route 176 in Seneca Township. At this point, we'll go through the standards that are proposed by the county. They will be, I think they're listed in your...
Start at the bottom of page 25.
For the board, that will be on page 25. For anyone else, that will be on page
That's the
3
proposed
of the
conditions.
staff assessment. The staff offers the following conditions for consideration. The conditional use shall expire 10 years from the date of approval by the McHenry County Board. Number 2, the conditional use shall substantially conform to the attached site plan marked revised 9/21/22. Number 3, the property owner shall submit an application for a stormwater management permit within 4 months of approval by the county board of this conditional use permit. Number 4, the maximum height of bins and the materials contained within them shall not exceed 6 feet in height. Number 5, any storage of de-icing agents shall conform to the standards of section 16.56.050.E of the McHenry County Unified Development Code. Conditional use number 6, retail sales shall be prohibited on site. And number 7, all other federal, state, and local laws shall be met. Are there any additional conditions to
Madam
be
Chairman, I'd like
proposed?
to propose a condition.
Go ahead, Mr. Aldridge.
Yes, this is notwithstanding the provisions of condition number 2, that petitioner shall either provide indoor storage meeting commercial standards, or a paved area for storage of the salt spreader and plows when not in use, and the parking of trucks when plow or salt spreaders are mounted thereon.
Okay, can you repeat that one more time for everybody? Just so that staff can get that down for our discussion.
Yeah, it's notwithstanding the provisions of condition 2, and the reason I have that is this is different from the site plan as proposed. That petitioner shall either provide indoor storage in an appropriate commercial building, or a paved area for the storage of salt spreaders and plows when not in use, and the parking of trucks when plow or salt spreaders are mounted.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Gardner. Discussion, Mr. Aldridge.
Yes, I worry, as I think everybody knows, because I've been talking about this since I came on the board, about contamination from salt. I appreciate the fact that this is going to be a considerable distance from other people's wells, and that's important, but just salt getting in the ground is bad for the environment, and salt spreaders and plows in the wintertime have a lot of salt on them, and therefore they either ought to be stored inside or on a paved area, so the salt will be far less likely to get into the ground and the groundwater.
Can I just ask a question? So when trucks are not in use, so you're proposing that there be more paved employee parking area, like paved truck storage areas? Because I'm looking at the site plan and it looks like there's a plan for mostly gravel near the salt bin and where the storage is now.
Well, I'm basically saying they have the choice of providing space for it inside their shed or paving an outdoor area to store them in the wintertime.
So if that's all gravel, they could store that any place on that gravel?
No,
No, they don't have
no,
it.
they have to have a paved
Oh,
area.
paved,
Well,
you're asking for
So
paved.
part
Or
of what you
store
said
them
was
inside.
Sure.
the trucks when not in use with the plows and the salt spreaders on it, so they would have to store all of their trucks on pavement in the wintertime?
Or inside,
Okay, or park all the trucks in the shed?
yes, in the wintertime.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions or discussion?
I have a question. When you say indoor storage, are you just talking about the plow and the salt spreader, or would your expectation be with this condition that the trucks would be parked inside?
I think they would put the trucks inside because I think taking the plow and the salt spreader off every time they use them would be impractical.
But after we're done.
In the summertime.
Like in the summer, we
Summertime.
can
Keep
park
them outside.
outside.
Yeah, like, this wouldn't be a permanent, like, covered storage for trucks.
We might
No.
do that anyway because then the salt won't get, we cover it with tarps, but then it won't get wet or dewy or things like that.
Yeah,
We can keep
it's,
it, so that's fine.
Giving you the choice, you might have to make your shed a little bit bigger.
We made it, I think, big
And-
enough, so.
And of course, the indoor storage would have to have appropriate drainage.
Yeah,
Okay, so we'll take a vote on this
I
condition.
did not catch a second for
Oh,
that.
yes, certainly.
I did not catch the second.
There was
for
me.
the-
Vicky.
Vicky, okay, thank you.
Oh, and I didn't put mine. Okay, so all those in favor of condition number 8, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, condition number 8 is added. Are there any other proposed conditions?
Madam Chairman, I propose adoption of the conditions as amended.
A
I'll
motion by
second.
Mr. Eldridge, second by Ms. Gardner, to approve the conditions. Any discussion? Okay, I will take a vote by first Mr. Eldridge,
Yes.
Ms. Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Cozen,
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel,
Yes.
Ms. Beverly,
Yes.
and I will vote yes, so that is 6-0 to approve the conditions. At this time, I would entertain a motion for the
I move acceptance of the petition subject to the conditions.
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve this request for a conditional use. Discussion, Mr. Eldridge?
Yes. The issue of a very busy Route 176 has been raised, and it is an issue, but that is not, in my view, a reason to deny a reasonable petition for some use of this property. And as a practical matter, the size of this business is such that it will not have a significant impact on the traffic on Route 176. I would caution everyone, including myself, who drives on that road to be very cautious because it's a rotten road. But I am concerned about every business who has salt storage, as I have noted, but the petitioner has indicated a willingness to go out of their way to be careful, and I have no reason to disbelieve that they will do their best to comply. Landscaping businesses are needed within the county. This is a county that has quite a few of them, and they seem to prosper and they seem to grow. A very significant portion of the local residential community uses landscape businesses, and in the wider region they are well used. This would seem to be a reasonable location for that. This does not change the zoning of the property, which will remain A1, nor does it authorize any other kind of business on this site. Any other business other than a landscape business would require a new conditional use. The area is all zoned A1. There's a good deal of residential in the area on this side of 176, but all of that is scattered residential use in A1, which would not be permitted to be zoned today, and under our ordinance and plan is to be disregarded in our conditions. I believe that they are willing to, and in fact have taken the consideration of good neighbors in their planning, and I think they will be a good neighbor who, as time goes on, if they conduct themselves as they said they will, frankly, people won't notice that they're there. They have not asked for lighting, they have not asked for signage, they're well back on the site, so the only people who really have a shot at knowing they're there is their neighbors on either side, and they are encompassing the area. So for all of these reasons, I believe they've met the standards for conditional use. They have agreed to meet all of the standards for outdoor storage and for a landscaping business. And I believe that they will be a good neighbor, and for all of these reasons, I'm going to support the petition.
Mr. Cozen, any comments?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to commend my colleague for bringing up the issue of salt. As one of the rather newer residents of McHenry County, newer in the sense that it's just barely approaching my fourth decade. One item I have heard since arriving here was the value and vulnerability of the Kishwaukee. And to the west, Kishwaukee crosses both 176 and Franklin Road. And in some ways, the audience we should be speaking to about salt is IDOT and the movement and the consistency of them dumping and turning 176 white from September to April and thereafter. This feeling is bolstered by the quality of the engineering submitted with this, and the detail and the care of catch basins and nominal grading. And for those reasons and others likely to be expressed, I support this petition.
Ms. Gardner.
There isn't much left to say here. Mr. Eldred said everything I wanted to say and more. I will say that I do believe this is a good site for this business, for this conditional use. I believe the petitioners are responsible and flexible and will make the most of this particular site. And I am in favor of it.
Mr. Schnabel.
I have to agree with what's been said, and I would just like to add that of the many conditional uses for landscape that we have looked at over the past few years, I think your layout is well thought out for the most part. And if we do the paving for the trucks, or you build your shed big enough to park them inside, that would probably make the neighbors a little happier if they didn't have to look at them out there. I'll leave that up to you, but overall, I am in favor of it otherwise.
Ms. Beverly.
I agree with everything that's been said.
And I'm also in favor of the petition, I believe, with the comments of my colleagues. So at this time, I'll take the vote. This is to approve the petition. Mr. Eldridge?
Yes.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Ms. Beverly?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes, so this will go to the county board with a 6-0 vote approving. Thank you, everyone. At this time, the meeting is closed.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.